Before Scott was murdered, his life and my life were so private and so personal. I decided that I was not going to mourn Scott's death, but celebrate his life. My name is Beigel Schulman, and I live in Dix Hills. I had my first child, Melissa, in 1980. Then I had Scott in 1982. 17 years ago, my husband Michael and I got married. He really became the father that my kids never had. When Scott was 7, he went off to sleepaway camp, never looked back, and did go for 28 years. He became a CIT, counselor in training, and then he became a counselor, ran the boys division, and he'd still be going back. Camp was Scott, Scott was camp. I mean, it was very important to him. When he went to college, he didn't know what he wanted to do, and I said, Scott, you really have no choice. You have to go into teaching. He was given opportunity to go and to interview at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, and they gave him the job. Scott taught geography and cross-country coaching, and Scott's biggest thing was, I want to teach the way I would have wanted to be taught. On February 14th, 2018, there was a fire drill early in the morning. Again, at 2:20, I think it was, the fire alarm went off again. It seemed a little odd that they would do a fire alarm again, but the fire alarm went off, so the kids started to go down the stairwells again. But it wasn't a fire alarm, it was the shooter. So he went into the first floor, and he shot through the first floor, and he killed a good amount of people on the first floor. But the second floor heard the shots, so they knew to go into their safe spaces. So when he went to the second floor, and he looked in the windows, there was nobody on the second floor. So he left the second floor, but the third floor did not hear gunshots. They were now going down for a fire alarm, and then realizing that it was an active shooter, there was total chaos, total panic. And that's when Scott, he was in his classroom. Protocol says, shut your door. If you're in a classroom, just shut your door. He opened his door. He summoned in as many people. He got 31 kids in the classroom. And when he went to close the door, the shooter was face to face with him 5 feet away and shot him 4 times within 3 seconds from 5 feet away. That's really what happened that day. I was in my office working. I got a phone call from Mike, and he said to me, I think you should come home. And I said, why? He said, because there was a shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School where Scott works. I just heard that there was a geography teacher who was shot. I basically got in my car and flew home. The first thing we did was we called all the airlines that we could call to take us down to Florida, and they were all booked. So we chartered a plane. I didn't care. I'd never done this before. I got on a plane, gave them a credit card. We got off at 8:45. We went to the command center at the Marriott. It was full of a lot of people, a lot of police officers. At 10 minutes to 2, they called my name. Mike and I went into a room. We were sitting in a semicircle, and one of the officers said to me, we know that your son is a hero, but he didn't make it. They told us it was 10 to 2 in the morning. We escorted out, went to the hotel, and at 4 something in the morning, I got a phone call. The person at the other end of the phone said, I'm just calling to let you know that we're going to be doing an autopsy on your son. Besides the fact that I was already in enough shock that Scott was dead, I pulled the religion card that I'd never pulled in my entire life. I said, you can't. I'm Jewish. You cannot do it. He said to me, lady, let me tell you what's going to happen. You're going to go and you're going to get a court order trying to stop us from doing this, and you're going to bring it to the court. They're not going to even entertain it until Monday, and your son's going to be put on ice until Monday when they tell you that we're going to do an autopsy because it's a crime scene. To this day, I never got to say goodbye to my son. And I told Mike, and we didn't tell anybody because it was the 14th, the murder. The 16th was Mike's birthday. We were picking out coffins. And mind you, the 14th is also Melissa's birthday, so it's the best day of my life and the worst day of my life. And I said to Mike, we are not going to tell a soul because we're going to put a hat on his head, and we made sure that nobody knew that there was an autopsy and what they saw wasn't quite Scott. Mike and I attended the trial. When something like this happens, your life changes like that. At the trial, we actually saw the AR-15 right there. That was evidence. The murderer was to the right side of us. It was like living through February 14th all over again. The medical examiner, he explained what the bullet did once it went into the body, how it explodes in the body. I decided at that moment, no matter what it takes, I'm going to make sure people understand why an AR-15 should be banned and nobody should own one. An AR-15 is a weapon of war. I call it show and tell. If it takes showing what an AR-15 does, I'll be the first. Because you know what? I got permission from my son to make sure something's done. And his murder and all the other murders that are taking place because of an AR-15, somebody needs to do something. I celebrate Scott's life every day. Makes me sad. I cry about it. I tried to keep that box over my heart and the lid closed tight. You can go under your covers and hide. No, that's not what you're gonna do. You're gonna fight. And you're going to make sure that you do something in Scott's honor and leave a legacy. 2 days after Scott was murdered, we decided we were gonna start the Scott J. Beigel Memorial Fund. We put together all the stuff that we could, and that's why we send at-risk, underserved children touched by gun violence to summer camp. We started with 3 camps, and as of today, we have 7 camps. It's a legacy for Scott. There's no doubt that every child we send to camp has a piece of Scott's heart. It's in his honor, but today it's all about the kids. From disaster comes good fortune. I'm hoping also that the children we send to camp learn how important caring is. If I can give that gift to the children in camp, even half of that I gave to my kids, the gift of caring, you know what? The world will be a better place.